really sure what I'm doing here. I am making a tank top, a basic high neck, rib knit, sleeveless tank top, a staple of my wardrobe, something I've made a bunch of times before, but every time I've made it in the past, I've drafted it on paper, whereas this time, I'm gonna drape it. This is by no means a tutorial or a how-to video. It's much more about coming along with me on my draping journey. I've got a new dress form. I bought some draping tape, so it will be the first time I'm using both of those things. I understand how to use them conceptually and how it should work, but this is very much an experiment, so forgive me. We'll start at the armpits, line parallel to the ground. I'm just going to go up the shoulder with a nice curve, back down. Her neckline is like a pretty, like that's too tight to come right there, I know that. So I will go to here. You know, you really have to just let go and hope for the best. First project's not going to be the best project. So I mean, this is really me just trying to get a feel for this tape, but I think what you would ordinarily do if you had seam lines to make, you would be sketching those out with the tape, and then you put the muslin on top and you can see the tape through the muslin. But in my case, I'm just going to grab some fabric and pin it and trim it just beyond the tape. The approach I'm taking is to get it to lie flat. We want to have a little bit of ease right here around the gut, but otherwise I want it to be nice and fitted around the bust. I'm only going to cut one side and then transfer all those cuts to the other side, but I'm pinning both sides because I think it's important to make sure it's falling flat, you know. I can see the vertical line of the fabric pretty easily. So I'm also looking to make sure it is like perpendicular to the floor for the most part. I feel like something like this right here is a problem that I need to fix. When it like there's a little fold that is kind of pointing up and it doesn't go away by just like brushing it flat, versus this side is just falling pretty smoothly all the way down. I think that means this isn't quite right. And I'm just going to mark center front with a little clip. So I don't need seam allowance along the neck holes and the armholes because I'm going to bind them, but I do need seam allowance at the shoulder. I think I'm just going to use some chalk and mark that. I can just see the tape underneath my cut. And I'm gonna fold over that seam again when I cut it so that I cut like the right seam allowance shape, if you know what I mean. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I think I'm just gonna do some chalk line here. And cut this now. Now for the back, I'm going to do something very similar. I realize I have to re-drape the back because my center back is not high enough to give me enough fabric at the shoulder. So that's a lesson learned, that this actually has to be pretty high up the neck in order to have enough fabric to go all the way around the shoulders. Shimmy that up a bit. All right, so I'm again starting by pinning everything nice and neat before I do any cuts or marks. So now I'm going to cut along my tape lines again. So again, I'm folding right at the seam allowance. I think that I want my shoulders to be pretty tight. I don't know, that's like where the whole garment is holding from. I'm gonna pin it tight here and then fold over. I'll take it off, I'll copy all these cuts that I did on this side, I'll sew it up and try it on. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but my armhole is a little wonky, like it kind of goes zoop, zoop, zoop. So I'm gonna just cut the way I know a armhole should be, which is more like this. I tried it on and it was painfully obvious that there was just too much material right in the armpit. I reworked the front side seam line since it feels like that's where the majority of the fabric should come from in order for that side seam to still lie flat. But the thing I'm concerned about is making sure that right underneath the armpit lays flat, and to do that, you want it to be a right angle as you're approaching the side seam. And it felt like I really couldn't get that if I took the full 1 3/4 inch from the front. So I took a 1/2 inch from the back, tapering that down to 0 inches taken from the back at the bottom, and just took 1 1/4 inches from the top of the front piece, tapering that down to about a 1/2 inch at the bottom. I also took a little bit out of the curve of the front armhole just to keep it nice and smooth even with that cut.